Sarah had always been an adventurous soul, seeking excitement in the great outdoors. When her friend John invited her to join a camping trip to Blackwood Forest, she eagerly accepted. Blackwood was known for its rugged beauty and a reputation for being a remote and mysterious wilderness. As they drove deeper into the forest, the towering trees seemed to close in around them. The canopy was so dense that sunlight barely penetrated, casting eerie shadows on the path ahead. It was an environment that was both enchanting and ominous, a perfect setting for an unforgettable camping experience. Sarah and John set up their camp near a picturesque, moonlit stream. They had chosen the spot for its tranquility and breathtaking scenery, but as night fell, the forest seemed to come alive with strange sounds and movements. Sarah brushed off her unease, attributing the rustling leaves and distant howls to the usual forest inhabitants. Little did she know that something more sinister lurked among the trees. As the night wore on, strange phenomena began to unfold. The campfire flickered, casting dancing shadows on the trees that seemed to take on grotesque forms. Unseen hands tugged at the corners of their tent, and eerie whispers seemed to emanate from the forest. The atmosphere grew increasingly oppressive, and Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. John tried to reassure her, attributing the strange occurrences to the wild imagination of the wilderness. In the heart of the night, the campfire suddenly extinguished itself. Sarah and John were plunged into utter darkness. The forest's sounds grew more menacing, and a cold, damp mist seemed to crawl through the campsite. As they fumbled for their flashlights, they heard a distant, mournful cry that sent shivers down their spines. It was a sound that neither of them could identify, an eerie and unsettling wail that seemed to come from all directions. Panic gripped Sarah when she realized that John was no longer beside her. She called out his name, but her voice seemed swallowed by the oppressive darkness. She groped through the trees, searching for any sign of her friend. In the distance, she saw a faint glimmer of light, and she followed it. To her horror, she found John's flashlight abandoned on the forest floor, its beam pointed upward. The light pierced the trees, but John was nowhere to be seen. Sarah's heart pounded as she realized that her friend had vanished without a trace, leaving her alone in the heart of the haunting Blackwood Forest. As Sarah frantically searched for any sign of John, the forest seemed to come alive with unseen threats. She heard whispers that were both menacing and alluring, promising answers to the mystery, but also warning her to turn back. The trees seemed to reach out with gnarled branches, and shadows moved in the periphery of her vision. Sarah understood that she was no longer alone, that something malevolent lurked in the darkness, watching her every move. As Sarah ventured deeper into the forest, she encountered a phenomenon that defied explanation. Eerie lights danced among the trees, their colors shifting from pale blue to crimson. They seemed to move with a purpose, leading her further into the heart of the forest. The lights beckoned her with an otherworldly allure, and despite her fear, Sarah felt compelled to follow them. They led her to a clearing where a gnarled tree stood. At its base, she found strange symbols etched into the earth, as if they were part of an ancient ritual. As Sarah approached the symbols, the whispers in the forest grew louder and more coherent. They spoke of a dark history that had plagued Blackwood for centuries, of a malevolent presence that sought to trap souls in the depths of the forest. The symbols were part of an ancient ritual, one that bound the forest to a malevolent force. Sarah realized that the eerie lights were manifestations of trapped souls, beckoning her to help break the curse and free them. With a sense of dread and determination, Sarah embarked on a quest to unravel the curse that had tormented Blackwood for generations. The forest's secrets were hidden in the symbols and the enigmatic lights, and she knew that she had to confront the malevolent force to save her friend and herself. The curse's history revealed a tale of betrayal and dark magic, of a pact made with a malevolent entity in exchange for power and immortality. The entity had claimed the souls of those who had entered Blackwood, trapping them within its grasp for eternity. As Sarah delved deeper into the forest's secrets, She realized that the malevolent entity would stop at nothing to maintain its hold on Blackwood. Her quest had become a battle for survival against a force that had plagued the forest for centuries. Sarah's quest led her to an ancient and twisted tree, which appeared to be at the heart of the malevolent force that plagued Blackwood Forest. It emanated an overwhelming aura of darkness and malevolence, and its gnarled roots reached deep into the earth, tapping into the very essence of the curse. As she approached the tree, Sarah felt the malevolent entity's presence closing in on her. Shadows coalesced around her, and the whispers grew louder, threatening to overwhelm her with despair. Sarah knew she had to confront the malevolent entity head-on. She reached deep within herself, drawing upon her courage and determination, and began to recite the ancient incantation that would break the curse. The malevolent entity fought back, using the shadows to manifest its own twisted and nightmarish forms. It hurled Sarah into illusions of her deepest fears and regrets, attempting to weaken her resolve. But Sarah's determination was unbreakable. With each verse of the incantation, she pushed back against the malevolent force, her voice and willpower steadily gaining strength. In a final climactic confrontation, Sarah completed the incantation, and the malevolent entity let out an anguished, otherworldly scream. The ground trembled, and the gnarled tree at the center of the forest shattered, its roots withering away. With a blinding burst of light, the malevolent force was banished, vanquished by the power of Sarah's determination and the ancient incantation. The forest seemed to sigh with relief, and a quiet calm settled over Blackwood. Sarah, her heart heavy with worry, rushed to find her friend John. She retraced her steps, following the eerie lights that had led her deeper into the forest. They guided her to a clearing where John was found, unconscious and shivering. As John awoke, he had no memory of what had transpired in the forest. Sarah recounted her harrowing experiences and the battle against the malevolent entity. John could hardly believe the supernatural events that had taken place. Together, Sarah and John left Blackwood Forest behind, no longer haunted by the malevolent force that had tormented them. The curse that had plagued the forest for centuries had been broken, and the town could finally find peace. The eerie lights that had once beckoned them had transformed into ethereal orbs, rising into the night sky. It was as if the trapped souls had found their release, ascending into the afterlife, their gratitude visible in the spectral display. As they emerged from Blackwood Forest, Sarah and John knew that their lives had been forever changed by their nightmarish camping experience. They understood that this supernatural world was not confined to the realm of legends and myths. Blackwood Forest remained an enigmatic and haunted place, but it no longer held the malevolent force that had terrorized it for centuries. The curse had been broken, and the forest had returned to its natural, albeit eerie, beauty. Sarah and John's friendship had been forged in the crucible of terror, and they would carry the memories of their ordeal with them throughout their lives. They knew that the malevolent entity had been vanquished, but they also recognized that the supernatural world held mysteries yet to be uncovered. As they left Blackwood Forest behind, they knew that their bond and their shared experience had given them a unique perspective on the world of the supernatural, one that would shape their destinies in ways they could never have imagined. Despite the malevolent entity's defeat and their escape from Blackwood Forest, Sarah and John couldn't escape the nagging feeling that they had left behind unanswered questions. What had the entity truly been? What had drawn it to Blackwood? Were there more secrets hidden in the depths of the forest? Over the following weeks, they found themselves haunted by the memories of their camping trip, their nights filled with restless sleep and unsettling dreams. Sarah became obsessed with understanding the supernatural world, while John grappled with the lingering sense of dread that clung to him. Driven by their experiences, Sarah and John decided to embark on a journey to unravel the mysteries of the supernatural. They became amateur paranormal investigators, visiting haunted locations, conducting seances, and delving into the world of the unexplained. Their quest led them to encounters with restless spirits, strange apparitions, and eerie phenomena. The supernatural world revealed itself to them in increasingly unsettling ways, leaving them both fascinated and terrified. One fateful night, as Sarah and John were investigating a notoriously haunted mansion, they encountered a presence that was all too familiar. The malevolent entity, which they had thought banished from their lives, returned with a vengeance. It seemed that the entity had not been defeated entirely, but had merely been weakened. Its return was marked by sinister occurrences, objects moving of their own accord, chilling voices in the dead of night, and strange symbols etched on the walls. Sarah and John realized that they were once again entangled in a battle with the malevolent entity, which had grown more powerful and vengeful. The entity seemed to have a relentless grip on their lives, and they felt trapped in a never-ending nightmare. Desperate for help, they sought the guidance of experts in the paranormal world. Through seances and consultations with mediums, they learned of a way to confront the malevolent entity once and for all, a dangerous and ancient ritual that would take them to the very heart of the supernatural world. With the guidance of their newfound allies in the paranormal realm, Sarah and John embarked on a treacherous journey to face the malevolent entity in the supernatural plane. The ritual required them to venture into a realm of darkness and uncertainty, where the entity's power was at its strongest. They confronted the malevolent force in a final epic battle. The entity, now revealed in its full, terrifying form, hurled them into nightmarish illusions and nightmarish landscapes. But Sarah and John drew upon their shared experiences and unbreakable bond to resist the entity's manipulations. In the supernatural plane, Sarah and John discovered the entity's vulnerability, a shard of obsidian that held the source of its power. With a tremendous effort, they managed to shatter the shard, causing the malevolent entity to wail in agony. As the entity's power disintegrated, the supernatural plane crumbled around them. Sarah and John were consumed by an otherworldly light and transported back to the real world. The malevolent entity was vanquished once and for all. The supernatural world had been cleansed of its malevolence, and the haunting that had plagued Sarah and John's lives was over. But the experience had changed them irreversibly. They were forever marked by their encounters with the supernatural, and they understood that the world held mysteries that could never be fully explained. Sarah and John continued their paranormal investigations, now with a deeper understanding of the supernatural realm. Their quest for answers would lead them to encounters with otherworldly beings, haunted places, and unexplained phenomena. As they delved further into the unknown, the nightmare of Blackwood Forest had come to an end, but their journey into the world of the supernatural had only just begun. Sarah and John's continued investigations into the supernatural world led them to a haunted mansion known as Ravenscroft Manor. The mansion had a sinister reputation, with a history of unexplained deaths and strange occurrences. As they explored the mansion's dark and decaying rooms, they discovered a hidden diary that once belonged to the mansion's original owner, a man named Nathaniel Ravenscroft. The diary detailed his obsession with dark magic and a malevolent entity that had promised him power and immortality in exchange for terrible deeds. The revelation sent shivers down their spines, as it became clear that the malevolent entity they had encountered was not unique to Blackwood Forest. It had a long history of influencing people to perform dark deeds and had left a trail of suffering in its wake. Shortly after their discovery at Ravenscroft Manor, the malevolent entity returned, even more vengeful and determined. It seemed that their investigation had uncovered secrets that the entity did not want revealed. The haunting began anew, with Sarah and John experiencing increasingly terrifying phenomena. Apparitions of Nathaniel Ravenscroft and other tormented souls appeared, and the very walls of the mansion seemed to close in on them. Sarah and John realized that their encounters with the malevolent entity were not coincidental but part of a larger pattern. They needed to delve deeper into its history and discover a way to permanently banish it. Their quest led them to a reclusive historian with expertise in the supernatural. He revealed that the malevolent entity was known as the Shadow Lurker, an ancient and malevolent force that preyed on those who sought forbidden power and knowledge. The historian explained that the only way to defeat the Shadow Lurker was to uncover its true name and recite a binding ritual, sending it back to the supernatural plane from which it had originated. Armed with this knowledge, Sarah and John returned to Ravenscroft Manor to confront the Shadow Lurker. The malevolent entity attempted to use their deepest fears and regrets against them, but they remained resolute. As they stood before the entity, they recited the binding ritual, demanding its true name. The Shadow Lurker howled in agony as it revealed its name: Azael. With the power of the ritual, they bound Azael and sent it back to the supernatural plane from which it had come. With the Shadow Lurker banished, Ravenscroft Manor's curse was broken. The malevolent presence that had plagued the mansion for centuries dissipated, and the tormented souls found peace. Sarah and John left the mansion behind, their investigations having brought closure to the haunting. They understood that the supernatural world held many mysteries, but they had managed to free another place from the malevolent forces that sought to bind it. Sarah and John continued their paranormal investigations, now with a better understanding of the malevolent forces that lurked in the supernatural realm. Their experiences had only deepened their fascination and their determination to uncover the unknown. They knew that the world was full of enigmas and secrets, and they were willing to confront the darkest of forces to seek the truth. Their journey into the supernatural would lead them to encounters with otherworldly beings, haunted places, and unexplained phenomena. As they delved further into the unknown, the nightmare of the Shadow Lurker had come to an end, but their journey into the world of the supernatural had only just begun.